In this video we want to talk about most motivational theories. Well, more particularly we want to talk about that of George Elton Mayo's Hawthorne experiments. This is one of the most famous pieces of writing in relationship to motivational theories within organizations, and one which is often quoted. So it's important to understand the outcome of the experiments, what they were and what they achieved. This is also the subject matter of several other videos on the course, and it's well worthwhile trying to locate these, look over the various modules and become familiar with the modules in so doing, but also extracting the videos from the various sources and viewing these. Student research is very important, and it's very important that you learn how to find your material, your readings and your video material, and be able to have your own reading list, compose your own reading list of materials on particular topics, so you can go back and bring out the materials, make notes from the materials, so you have got a proper study platform, a proper resource base from which you can study particular topics. And in the case of the Hawthorne experiments, this is very important. It's very important to understand what Mayo discovered, and also to be able to link that to other theories of motivation. So let's look at Mayo's experiments. Well, George Elton Mayo was in charge of certain experiments on human behaviour carried out at the Hawthorne works of the Western Electric Company in Chicago between 1924 and 1927. We say certain experiments, and they were more to do with observational exercises in which Mayo observed what workers were doing and then varied the tasks and varied the conditions to see what would happen to productivity, to see how people responded to various changes in their working conditions. And out of this he tried to deduce what was the most appropriate way of motivating workers in the workplace. His research findings have contributed to organizational development in terms of human relations and motivation theory. So these particular experiments are very important within the literature. They may form the basis of subsequent work, and may also provide a platform for your own work and your own research in this area. So it's very important to be familiar with the Hawthorne experiments. Now, based on Hawthorne's experiments, Mayo concluded the following. I'm not going to go into what he did exactly in the experiments. That, as I said, is the subject matter of other videos which you will locate and study. But this is the outcome of what he observed. He observed that work is a group activity, that in a sense people like working with other people. They like social contact. We are social creatures, and we like to have contact with our fellow man. We don't want to be isolated. We don't want to work in solitary conditions. We like the idea of having some interaction with other humans. So it's a group activity. It's a social activity, work, to some extent. It means that people are able to see others and relate to others and have some human contact. The social world of the adult is primarily influenced by work activity. This is a straightforward, almost statistical fact. We spend a lot of time at work. We may work 8 hours a day, plus we have to get to the place of work, so it might be an extra hour on each end or whatever it takes. So maybe it's 10 hours a day. So we've got 14 hours left, and we sleep 7 hours maybe. So we've got 7 hours left in which we have to do housework, shopping, and perform various tasks required within the community and within the family. Look after the house, paint the fence, and so on. So we have various activities. So work is a very big component of our life. And that means that work influences us. We think about work. Even when we're not there, we're thinking about it. We know we have to go back to work. And it's constantly on our minds. So the social world of the adult is primarily influenced by work activity. It's a big influence in our lives. The need for recognition, security, and sense of belonging is more important in determining workers' morale and productivity than the physical conditions under which he or she works. So we desire this idea of recognition and security and sense of belonging. We're leaving our homes in the morning where we feel a sense of belonging and security, and we have status within the home. As a son, or as a father, or as a mother, or daughter, or whatever it is we are within the home, we have that experience. So we have these components within the home. But then when we go to a place of work, we want to have essentially the same type of sense. We want to belong there. We want to be recognized as a part of that new environment, to be recognized as important within the environment. And we want to feel secure, not just in terms of the physical security of the place. We're not going to be hurt or damaged in some way because we're working there, but we want to feel secure that our future is relatively safe. We're going to have an income at the end which will help us pay for living expenses and enable us to function in life. And of course we want recognition. We want people to recognize what we do. We want, there's an element of status involved, and we want that brought out as well. A complaint is not necessarily an objective recital of facts. It is commonly a symptom manifesting disturbance of an individual's status position. So sometimes when we get a complaint, it's not the facts of the complaint, it's the fact that it's challenging our position, it's challenging our competence or our relationship with others, or our relationship with the work indeed, in our competency to complete the work. It's a disturbance to us in the way we're working and the way we are presenting ourselves within the working environment. So a complaint is not just the facts of what happened. It's a symptom manifesting disturbance of the individual's status position. It's upsetting our status position. It's a complaint. It's saying we are not capable of performing certain functions. The worker is a person whose attitudes and effectivenesses are conditioned by social demands from both inside and outside the work plant or the workplace. Our attitudes and our effectiveness generally is conditioned by the nurture elements in our environment. There's a big debate in psychology about what makes us the type of people we are. Is it something we're born with? Is it our genetic makeup? The psychologists call this the nature component. But there is a nurture component. Nurture means it's the experiences we've had over our lifetimes, the people we've met, the things we've done, the various experiences we've had, our education, what we saw on television, what we read in a book, the people we've met. These are what nurture us and influence us. And of course, when we meet a person any day, that person could be made up mostly from nurture, the influences of the environment, or it could be made up from innate characteristics that were given to the person when he or she was born, the genetic makeup of the person. So our attitudes and effectiveness are conditioned by social demands from both inside and outside the work. Our way of looking at the world is determined by the requirements that we face, both from work in terms of performing certain functions and learning skills and maintaining our position in the workplace, and also our ability to deal with the home environment and the social environment in which we find ourselves. So our attitudes and effectiveness are determined by what happens to us in work and what happens to us out of work. And these influences are constantly, in a sense, coming at us. These influences are constantly streaming towards us, and we're experiencing these influences. So we are made up partially from our working experience. Informal groups within the workplace exercise strong social controls over the work habits and attitudes of individual workers. So we have the requirements of the organization in terms of how tasks should be undertaken and how work should be organized and the processes that we should go through. But we also have informal groups. These could be work colleagues, and they have certain attitudes and certain beliefs, and that can influence us. It may be just because we meet them over a break time. We're having a break from work, a rest period, and we meet these people, and they tell us about their attitudes towards certain things. And because we don't have exposure to expert opinion at that time, we don't have access to news channels or to documentary films or textbooks or whatever, we are influenced by their opinions. So informal groups within the workplace can influence us. They can influence the way we see the world, the way we work, our attitudes. So work is a very important environment in which people, in a sense, develop. Whether they develop correctly, i.e., for example, in accordance to the norms of society, or whether they develop not so correctly according to some strange set of beliefs, that's another issue. There's also the issue of the effect of changing technology and changing workplace practices, and the effects that these have on us in terms of our approach to problem solving in the social setting and the way we see the world. If the working environment is changing rapidly, perhaps because of perhaps the onset of rapidly changing technology, then that influences the way we see the world. And this may influence the way we see the way we live and the type of products that we want and the way we organize our lives at home and our expectations of institutions with which we have contact. For example, expectations of the schooling system or of the healthcare system. So we see the changes within industry, and we see the benefits from the change in terms of productivity and better ways of working, perhaps. And we expect other institutions to also experience those advancements. So we're constantly adapting to change, and the change that we experience most directly is the change within the workplace, because we spend such a large amount of time in work. We see the onset of technological progress there, and then we carry this, in a sense, requirement into our personal lives, into our social lives, and we expect institutions on the outside to also go through processes of development and change. And indeed, we want it within the home. We want modernity. We want new products. We want new ways of living and working, and ways which makes our lives easier. And we have less tolerance towards the old ways. Some people may have romantic attachments to the good old days, but most of us would not want to live in the good old days. We want to live now with modern appliances that makes our lives easier. So clearly the work environment spreads out the idea of innovation and change throughout society. And for that reason, it's also important. Now, these were some of the findings of the Mayo experiments. There were more detailed measurements that he took in terms of productivity and switching around workers from working more solitary to working in small groups to having work breaks, and the impact of having a work break on productivity, and the overall output levels when workers were not working continuously but were given certain breaks, a break in the afternoon, perhaps a break in the morning, in which they could rest and in a sense recharge their batteries and then go about their work again. So there are many aspects to the Hawthorne experiments that we need to look at. But these, as I said, are the subject matter of other videos, and I would like you to extract those videos and look at those. Do some research, as I said right at the very start. It's what students do. But that's all we're going to deal with here. The bibliography on motivation theories is vast. It's one of the big topic areas in the study of business and management, and the topic of motivation looms very large within that literature itself. But as I said, let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.